Welcome, everybody, to Growing Smart, the Stronghold podcast. I am your host, Thom Perrone, and with me today is the lovely and talented Julianne Porter. Say hi, Julianne.
Hi, everyone.
And so we are talking today about how you can help your team be a lot more effective with your weekly meetings. So let's get started. So if you're listening to this podcast just for that awesome intro music, we understand because it's the greatest ever. Just like this is actually the greatest podcast you've listened to probably today. So Julianne Porter why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do? Who do you work for? Why are you so important?
I don't know if I would say I'm that important.
You're very important to me.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So Julianne Porter, VP of Client Success for DASHealth. We're an up-and-coming tech company here in Tampa Bay. I've been working with Thom for probably 6 years now, and he's worked with me from the bottom to here we are today.
Yep. So she says DAS is an up-and-coming company, but really they've arrived. So they've been on the Tampa Bay Business Journal's fastest growing companies Fast 50 list 9 times in a row.
Consecutive.
Yeah. Inc. 5000 7-8 times.
Yep.
Now and so you guys have 3 locations, about 100 employees. Edging on about $20 million a year revenue. So they're doing really well, growing like a weed. They grow primarily through acquisitions. So Julianne, when I first sat down with Julianne, we started doing some one-on-one coaching after she came through some sales training about 6 years ago. And she's moved around many departments, been at many stages of management. And now as a VP, she's managing managers. But whether or not you're managing managers or whether or not you're the middle manager managing frontliners, the things that Julianne uses are very effective. The tools she uses, the process she uses is very effective. And she uses this, and everyone underneath her uses the same process. So they have a weekly one-to-one. Julianne has a weekly one-to-one with her immediate team. All of her middle managers have weekly one-to-ones with their team, and they use kind of a format they go through. And I thought it would be helpful for everyone to hear a little bit about that format. It's something that you could use in your company, even if you have like 3 employees, or if you have 300, you can use this. So talk to us a little bit about the format. What do you like about the format before you start getting into it?
So what I like about the format is that it gives me visibility through my entire organization, so I know where everyone stands on their team, but I'm empowering them to be the manager, but I can still provide them guidance because I have that visibility. Right. So important for me, they track every week their goals. Mm-hmm. So what their overall goals for their regions are. So they're tracking things that their team is doing and their progress to measuring those goals. Mm-hmm. So from there, they're also highlighting on key projects and things that they have accomplished during the week and maybe areas where they fell short during the week. Right. Where they're rating all of their goals on a color-coded scale of green being good, yellow being slightly off track, and red being completely off track.
Okay, let me pause you there because I want to go through that. That's one of the things I really wanted to highlight. It's actually my favorite thing about this profile. So how long do you typically spend as a VP with the middle managers you're coaching in a one-to-one every week?
Our one-to-ones are about 30 to 45 minutes every week. And I usually, before I sit down with them and spending just a few minutes reviewing where their metrics are and the issues that they have on their report.
Okay, so they fill out these reports every week. They send them to you beforehand.
Correct. They send them to me on the weekend or on Friday at the end of the day for their full week's review.
How long do you think it takes them to complete it?
I don't know, maybe 15 to 30 minutes.
Okay. And then, so they've got goals that are already listed there. So they're looking heads-up display. One of the things we're big at Stronghold is KPI type management. Always having a steering of the course. Not getting into the weeds until we've understood where we stand on big picture first. And, I've talked about that here a lot. So they're always looking at that. And then the color coding, how they're doing, is not just how they feel they're doing, but they're assessing a couple of different things. So we've got the color coding of green, yellow, red. Right, on track, in danger, or off track.
Right.
And what are the things that they're giving those colors to? There's a couple different things.
Yeah, there's different measures that they're measuring, whether it's a revenue goal or a site visit goal or maybe a client satisfaction goal. So all of their goals are listed out, and they're also noting kind of where they are on track from where we are in the quarter to the end of the quarter and how they think they're going to perform. Okay,
so let me clarify. So they're giving a red, yellow, or green on each of their existing KPIs, their existing goals.
That's correct.
Okay, but they also, the other thing I wanted to highlight is at the top of the report, what they use is they use something that looks at their just kind of a global status. It's almost like an emotional check of where they are. Walk us through that.
So there's an overall status, which is where they are, on track, at risk, kind of how they're feeling and what their metrics look like for that overall performance. Mm-hmm. Then they also have a self-assessment that they're putting either positive, neutral, or negative. That gives me an idea of kind of how they are feeling in their role and where they're at with themselves. And then there's also a team assessment, which is the same scale, positive, neutral, or negative, which also brings additional talking points to the conversation when we meet to understand what those issues are.
Can I tell you what I love about this?
Yeah.
Okay, what I love about the overall status, the self-assessment, and the team assessment, where you're saying like I'm on track or I'm negative or I'm at risk, is it eliminates that 15 minutes of emotional ramble you can have with someone. This is a high-performance work environment. People could come in, they could just be having a stressful day. And they come in and they tell you for 10 minutes why they're stressed today or what their challenges are. And while that's great, you want to be able to address those things. I want to know right when they come in like what their temperature is.
Yeah.
And this forces me to say, this is what their temperature is. And it forces them to say, this is what my temperature is, this is what my team's temperature is, and this is just overall how I'm feeling right now. And if those things are good, you can dive right into the stuff that matters.
Right.
If you don't know that coming in and things are good, you still have to ask. And sometimes people feel like they just have to answer questions. How are you doing today? Well, I'm doing good. I got this and that going on. Okay, that's great, but we've got 45 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, I want to be careful because obviously you always have to spend time checking in with people. I call it shepherding your team. You have to spend time doing that. But if you spend every one-to-one doing that, it's going to become very ineffective.
Right.
These should be kind of quick huddles every single week. And of course, I know you're spending additional time with them anyway. But if there is a reason that they're negative, then you've got to key in on it.
Yeah. It also gives me the opportunity to look through their report and see what other triggers might be causing them or their team to be negative. Mm-hmm. It might be something that's impacted from another department, or maybe somewhere they're off track and it's potentially, detrimental to their performance or maybe their bonus. So it gives me the opportunity to dig in deeper and see, are there issues, or maybe are we being a little emotional and it's just been a rough week? But maybe there are underlying issues there.
My favorite thing about the red, yellow, green with the goals is we don't have to wait till the end of a quarter to figure out where someone's at. So often people walk into performance reviews, they're like, I wonder how I did. I wonder how people are going to assess me. And it's like, listen, you should have been thinking about that 45 days ago.
It helps the managers hold their teams more accountable too.
Right.
Because the team's reporting on where they're at. And it's easy for you to look at the report and say, you're red here. What do you need to do to be yellow or green? Mm-hmm. How are you going to get there?
One of the things I love about DAShealth is they are a culture that promotes from within. So they begin training their employees to begin critically thinking. They do leadership development right from the day they're onboarded. They're always challenging them, stretching them, and asking questions like Julianne just said. What do you need to do to resolve this? Instead of this is what you need to do to resolve this. Right. And those who really excel here are people who learn those things. And Julianne is, of course, one who has done that very well. You've been over, I don't know how many different departments over the years. And now I think you just have to run the whole company. I think that's your next step.
Maybe one day.
I'll talk to David about
Sounds
that.
Sounds good.
So great. So I hope that's helpful. So what you guys would do, one of the things we do here, if you didn't know this, Julianne, this is one of our earlier podcasts, although I know you listen to them all multiple times. You and my mom and three other people.
Definitely subscribe. Hey, Mom.
Yeah. So One of the things that we do uniquely here at the Stronghold podcast is we always give implementation. Here's what you can now do. Instead of just hearing this and going, how can I apply that? I actually give them tools they can go and implement it. So if you're listening to this and you go, that sounds good, I want to do that too, this is what you do. It's really simple. You're going to open up a Word document and you're going to put in there the goals of the person that reports to you. And you're going to give them red, yellow, and green. I'm on track, I'm off track, I'm at risk, or I'm off track. And then at the top, you're just going to put, how they overall feel. I'm positive, I'm mediocre, I'm negative. How their team is doing if they report to a team, and then just how they personally feel. So overall, them personally, and then use that format. Of course, build in your goals, build in anything else you want. But the goal is to keep these meetings to about 30 minutes. A goal to have only 30 minutes, and if it goes over to 45, it's a different story. But that's something you can implement immediately on paper, where they're filling out their weekly reports and sending them to you in advance before your weekly one-to-ones. That's one of the biggest keys to why this works. And if you do that, then I am pretty optimistic. If you're not doing that and you start doing that now, that things are going to go a lot better for you. So that's been very helpful, Julianne. Thank you so much
Thanks for having me, Thom.
My pleasure. We're going to have you on all the time. Every time I come here. Because nobody really likes me or wants to listen to me.
That's not true at all. We need to get you some more followers.
There's at least 3 more.
I just promoted you on Instagram, so
Nice.
there's a good chance you get a couple more.
Well, and if my mom's listening and sharing on her Facebook page as she so regularly does, I'm pretty sure my grandmother's going to start listening soon too. So I'm pretty optimistic about that. Nana, really looking forward to getting your feedback. I know what she's going to say. You talk too much. But I make a living
Isn't
doing
the point?
Yeah. So awesome. Thank you so much. Until next time, this has been Growing Smart, Stronghold Training Podcast. See you next time.